Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it. Hey, everybody. Sorry to be a minute or two late. Thanks for being patient. Let's go ahead and jump right into the the public portion of the live lab. We're going to continue to look at USDJPY. Is this thing going to continue to melt down? It's a really good question. It's been pretty easy to catch some shorts on this. This could be a bit of a tricky thing to trade, to be honest. When you're looking at forex setups and it's doing nothing but going down, that can be tricky. But if you jump down to lower time frames, you can recognize when you can pull those shorts because you got these moves up and you sell the rallies. Now, my algo is calling it out pretty well. You can see these red tabs right there, there, and there. Now, there were a couple of other red tabs that showed up and disappeared, and most of them were still pretty good trades. But as long as the candle closes, there is room to move down afterwards, right? Candle closes, red tab stays most of the time, like the vast majority of the time, and then price just continues to head in the direction pointed by the tab. All right, now it's not perfect, but it's a pretty good little algo, does the job. So that's one way to go about it. And if you're at Algo Factory and you want to see my chart with those arrows, you can just ask for it. Say, hey, what's going on with that? And I can show you. Let's go ahead though, and frozen screen. Thank you. Be good for that. I'm glad I was actually looking at the right chat there. Let's go to, there we go. I should probably just do that at the beginning of each show. I think I figured out why that's happening, but it's something that's not really solvable. So let's go back to what I was saying. JPY melting down. Each of these red tabs is pointing towards the short trade. Pretty good. Obviously not catching the tops, but definitely catching the wins, right? So if you're at Algo Factory, you can say, hey, what is, show me your 30-minute chart, or, the 3-hour doesn't have that kind of data, but the 30-minute sure does. The daily does, the 5-minute does. So I can always post those in there on request. But I do think we're going to see a rally, and this right now, it's a double bottom. If you look close on the 30-minute, right? You got this 2 needles right here. So price may continue up a bit. And in fact, the indication is that it will with this candle theory, right? So to actually break it down to candle theory, which I do, I can't not see it because I traded it for so long. Even though I'm using algos, candle theory is important. And when you have a double bottom and then you have this next candle right here, and the following candle is a higher high and a higher close, and then chances are it will continue up. So for just this short meantime, the next several hours, this may continue up. And I am looking for pretty solid signals before I'm trading this right now. And I think the best thing I can do is really with the current setup, with the way things look right now, with all the data you see on the screen, while I might be able to catch a move up here, and I might be able to scalp a move up, no sizable positions should occur for me until I see this reversal back downwards, unless the conditions change in the higher time frame, right? So that's going to apply on any trend. Anytime you have a trend, I personally, as a trend trader, want to trade with the trend, so I look for pullbacks. And in this case, the trend is downward. Right. So this is continuing to push down. So I look for pullbacks to the upside. So to illustrate that to you briefly, the trend is downwards, lower highs, lower lows. I look for those lower highs right there to try to sell those. That's where I'm going to get the most bang for my buck in the trend. Of course, the trend ends, and I do have some clues as to when that might be. But in the meantime, that's where it's at. So let's go ahead and move on. We talked about Bitcoin already earlier, but let's go ahead and do it again. Look, Bitcoin showing bullishness on the higher time frame. And as I showed earlier, I'm going to go to the 3-hour here. You're going to see higher highs, higher lows. Bitcoin already starting to recover from this little move down right here and may push up. Let me take a brief look here. Yeah, this is tricky. So this is, Bitcoin's been doing what I told the private live lab it would do. so far, which is it is grinding upwards, but you have these kind of devastating pullbacks that will last a few hours, and then it just kind of catches a bid and heads up again. So, I don't see any reason right now for that to change. The same conditions that existed, um, the same conditions that existed that were pushing price up all the way have not changed. So probably going to see price aim towards the all-time high, right? Okay, sorry, I had to send a message there. Um, so that's that. Now this might flounder a bit. You might see things slow down because it has been, well, maybe not. It's hard to say. You get to a point where the algos, which are basically indicators that are stacked up, you get to a point where those aren't really telling you that much anymore. You just got to kind of watch the price action a little bit. And, if you're really watching, you can kind of see it happen. So this, if I just had to look at this and take a guess as to how it's going to go, let's take a brief look here. Yeah, there's two ways that this could go today. I'm going to mark this out two different ways. There's many ways it could go, but there are two ways that I'm looking at, right? You're going to see this bounce back and forth in here until it doesn't. And of course, it could bounce down and grab some liquidity, but even if it goes down, I don't think it's going to go any lower than that low. So the low was about 104, 105, so 104,100. If we do get a retracement down, then I don't think it's going to go any lower than that, and probably not any lower than 105, 150, right? Maybe 105, 100, 100, and then head up. But it could simply just break out to the upside, and it could do it really fast. Again, we're at a point now where price may break out. The Nasdaq, as we talked about earlier, is it's hanging back a little bit. You're seeing a bit of a downtrend on the Nasdaq, which can put some pressure on Bitcoin to the downside. But right now, Bitcoin's not seeming to care about that. It's in the middle of its bull, and it may just be ready to go ahead and head up. It made 109, as an all-time high, I think earlier this year, and then it broke down to 75,000-ish, and then it now is headed back up. It might have grabbed the high time frame liquidity and be ready to smash 109. Now I'm going to go over to the private live lab with the Algo Factory members, and we're going to talk about where those targets might be. Where might Bitcoin go if it does go ahead and crush up to the upside? And those are not, those are technical targets that I'm pretty adept at finding. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and start that. In the meantime, I'm going to take a brief look at gold. Well, that's all kind of going down. Let me see here. Give me a second. In the meantime, I'm going to take a brief look at gold. Well, yeah, gold is starting to get rejected on the low time frame. It's actually been rather resilient. And we were just talking about this earlier. Gold could actually reject right here and head down. It could. Now, I'm not saying it's going to. And gold's been very resilient, and there are some pretty bullish kind of looks on it. So again, even though we did just get this little bit of a knockdown, it might be that gold continues to range between 32 and 33.50 before it makes a decision. As it stands right now, I think, look, I'm not saying gold's going to go below 3,200, but gold might have a little bit of a bearish day. So the two things we're going to do immediately as soon as we go over to the Algo Factory Live Lab, which is already more or less started, is we are going to talk about Bitcoin high targets, where Bitcoin might go to topside. We're going to talk about gold downside targets, but it'll be on the short term. So go ahead, free algo link in the description. If you want to participate in those private live labs, go, and also you can just go to this link and click on it and we'll send you the email and all that stuff, and you'll be able to find us. You could also just simply go to algofactory.tech. And what we do is we teach people to build their own algos, right? So when I show you this chart right here with all these tabs and, this tab right here, it's kind of hard to see, but let's just use this one as an example. I actually had this coded. I created this algorithm that creates that green tab. Obviously, price went up after seeing it. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. It's pretty darn accurate. Like, for example, here is a red tab and price went down after that. Red tab here, price went down. I built that. I created that. I paid a guy to code it. So really more had like a business arrangement. And now, again, it's not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. And we can teach you how to build your own. And also, if you're at Algo Factory and say, hey, what is your, show me a picture of your chart with those tabs on it, I can do that too. It's not a problem. AlgoFactory.tech, come on over, learn how to trade like a hedge fund pro. Thank you all for watching. And we're going to hop off and go to the private live lab. And then we'll be back tomorrow, planning to do a pre-market. I may do a pre-market. The trick with Thursdays is there's always data on Thursdays, right? Thursdays always has the pre-market or the unemployment data come out. So I may or may not do the pre-market. We'll see. And but we'll, today after the private live lab, as long as conditions are good, I might come back on, do some scalping. I only share the actual take profit and stop loss data with the private live lab. I don't share that publicly. I'll talk about what I'm doing, and even when I share the trade data with Algo Factory, they're doing their own research, doing their own trades. They're not just following my trades, but I'll say, hey, I'm getting in here, getting out there, and they get to watch for educational purposes only. So, AlgoFactory.tech, come on over. Thanks for watching, and we will see you mañana or later today if conditions are good for scalping and for day trading. Catch you later.